Welcome Back, Kotter is an American television sitcom starring Gabi Kaplan and featuring a young John Travolta. Videotaped in front of a live studio audience, it originally aired on the ABC network from September 9, 1975, to June 8, 1979. Premise: the show starred stand-up comic actor Gabi Kaplan as the title character, Gabi Kotter, a wisecracking teacher who returns to his high school alma mater, the fictional James Buchanan High in Brooklyn, New York, to teach an often unruly group of remedial loafers known as the Sweathogs. The school was based on New Utrecht High School, which was used in the opening credits, and also the high school that Kaplan attended. The school's principal was perpetually absent, while the uptight vice principal, Michael Woodman, dismissed the Sweathogs as worthless hoodlums and only expected Kotter to attempt to contain them until they inevitably dropped out. Kotter, however, had attended the same remedial classes when he was a student at Buchanan, and was a founding member of the Sweathogs. Recognizing that he was his students' last chance to learn enough to survive beyond high school, he soon befriended them as they grew to recognize and appreciate his trust and faith in their potential. His devotion to the class was such that his students often visited his Bensonhurst apartment, sometimes via window, but often to the chagrin of his wife, Julie. Most of the major characters of Welcome Back, Kotter were based on people from Kaplan's teen years as a remedial high school student in Brooklyn. As a stand-up comic, one of Kaplan's most popular routines was Holes and Mellow Rolls, in which he talked in depth about his former classmates. The names of 3 of the 4 major characters in Holes and Mellow Rolls were changed for the television series. Vinnie Barbarino was inspired by Eddie LeCarry and Ray Barbarino, from Miami, Florida. Freddie Boom Boom Washington was inspired by Freddie Ferdy Payton. And Juan Epstein was partially inspired by Epstein the animal. Only Arnold Horshack's name remained unchanged. In Kaplan's stand-up routine, this character was always referred to as Arnold Horseshit, which could not be used on network television. Characters: Gabi Kotter, played by Gabi Kaplan, a facetious, but well-meaning, teacher who returns to Buchanan High after 10 years to teach a group of remedial students known as the Sweathogs. Being a founding member of the original Sweathogs, Kotter has a special affinity for the potential of these supposedly unteachable students. His first day on the job, he launches into a Groucho Marx impersonation. Kotter is married to Julie, with whom he eventually has twin girls. When Buchanan High principal John Lazarus retires, Kotter becomes the vice principal, though maintaining some teaching duties. He teaches social studies, and frequently role-plays events to the class. It was confirmed by Julie in the episode Follow the Leader that Gabi is Jewish. Julie Kotter, played by Marcia Stressman, Gabi's wife and closest friend. Though she has a sense of humor, she often wishes Gabi would take matters more seriously. She is occasionally upset with the amount of time her husband spends with his students, and she is troubled that he allows them to visit their apartment regularly. In the 2-part story arc Follow the Leader, the Sweathogs' constant intrusions led Julie to separate briefly from Gabi and even seriously consider divorce. Originally from Nebraska, with a college degree in anthropology, Julie eventually became a secretary, and later a substitute teacher at Buchanan after Gabi's promotion to vice principal. She makes several references to her world-famous tuna casserole, a common meal at the Kotter dinner table, which Gabi and the Sweathogs dislike. Mr. Woodman, played by John Sylvester White, the curmudgeonly vice principal of Buchanan High. He makes no secret of his dislike for the Sweathogs, whom he considers the bottom of the social register at his school. He refers to non-Sweathogs as real students. When Kotter was a student at Buchanan, Woodman taught social studies, the same class Kotter returns to Buchanan to teach. His old age are common jokes with the Sweathogs. Woodman was totally against Kotter's unorthodox teaching methods, and at one point even put Kotter in front of the school's review board in an unsuccessful attempt to get him fired. Nonetheless, in the Season 1 episode No More Mr. Nice Guy, Woodman is shown to be a gifted teacher, willing to wear historic costumes and role-play in front of the class during his lessons. Vincent Vinnie Barbarino, played by John Travolta, a cocky Italian-American, and unofficial official leader and resident heartthrob of the Sweathogs. Barbarino's prowess with women was a source of envy among his classmates. On occasion, he would break out in song of his last name sung to the tune of the Regent's song, Barbara Ann. He was the first of the Sweathogs to move out on his own when he got a job as a hospital orderly. In the first episode of the series in fourth season, he has a girlfriend, Sally. Vinnie is Catholic, and as shown in I'm Having Their Baby, is a Star Trek fan. Little is known about Vinnie's life at home other than his parents argue a lot, his mother's name is Margie, and he shares a bed with his brother. The episode Don't Come Up and See Me Sometime implied that Vinnie is the older of the two. Arnold Horshack, played by Ron Palillo, the class clown of the Sweathogs, completely comfortable with his oddball, if Norvay, personality. Horshack was known for his unique observations and his wheezing laugh, similar to that of a hyena. It is possible that academically he is the smartest Sweathog. He was the only one of the Central Sweathogs to be promoted out of remedial academics class, but he soon returned after feeling out of place. He has an affection for acting and enjoys old movies, particularly 1930s musicals. He eventually married Mary Johnson, a co-worker and fellow Sweathog. Although his surname sounds like a term for a brothel, he claimed it is a very old and respected name meaning the cattle are dying. His middle name is Dingfelder. Freddie Boom Boom Percy Washington, played by Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, the hip African-American known as the Athletic Sweathog for his skills on the basketball court, Washington claimed his nickname came from his habit of pretending to play the bass, and singing boom 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 boom. Though often the voice of reason among his classmates, Washington nonetheless was a willing participant in the Sweathogs' various antics and pranks. Freddie also found success as a radio disc jockey along with another former Sweathog, Wally the Wow. At one point, Washington challenged Barbarino for leadership of the Sweathogs, and even replaced him for a time until the group grew tired of his dictatorial style. Washington had an older sister, who got divorced twice while living in Vermont, and a brother, Leroy. In the Great Debate he is revealed to have another brother, Douglas, and their father's name is revealed to be Lincoln. Kotter would use his own past to bond with Freddie, as in addition to being a former Sweathog, he was a former star for Buchanan's basketball team as well. Juan Luis Pedro Felipe de Huravos Epstein, played by Robert Hughes, a fiercely proud Puerto Rican Jew, and one of the toughest students at Buchanan High, despite his short stature. He normally walked with a tough man strut, wore a red handkerchief hanging out of his right back pocket, and was voted most likely to take a life by his peers. In the Season 1 episode, One of Our Sweathogs is Missing, Epstein was shown to be the sixth child in his family, although his mother had 10, while in the episode I'm Having Their Baby he mentions that his mother gave birth 8 times. The only names of his siblings mentioned in the show are 2 brothers, Pedro and Sanchez, and a younger sister, Carmen. Epstein's toughness was downplayed later on, and became more of a wise guy. He was also known to have a buddy relationship with Principal Lazarus, as he often referred to him by his first name, Jack. On a few occasions, when Kotter would do his Groucho Marx impersonation, Epstein would jump in and impersonate Chico Marx or Harpo Marx. Epstein's diminutive height and large hair are common jokes associated with him. Recurring characters: Rosalie Hotzi Totzi, played by Deborah Lee Scott, the femme fatale purported to have put the sweat in Sweathog, though her reputation was largely exaggerated by the Sweathog's word of mouth. Her promiscuity was at least in part a reaction to the strict discipline enforced by her father, the Reverend Totzi. To restore her good name, she fabricated a story about one of the Sweathogs getting her pregnant. The character was a favorite amongst male viewers. The character was phased out of the series at the end of the first season, but she reprised her role in a 1978 episode, The Return of Hotzi Totzi, in which it was revealed that she dropped out of school because she became pregnant and had to become a stripper to support her infant child. Judi Borden, played by Helene Lembeck, a recurring non-Sweathog character in the earlier seasons, Borden is a straight-A student and editor of the Buchanan Bugle, the school newspaper. She was Barbarino's tutor at one point. Despite her academic superiority, she can easily hold her own in a dozens contest with any Sweathog. Beauregard Beau de la Barre, played by Stephen Shortridge, introduced as a regular character in the fourth and final season. Beau is a handsome, blonde, silver-tongued Southerner who transfers from New Orleans after being kicked out of several other schools. He ends up in Kotter's class. The producers sought a heartthrob that was not a direct knockoff of the Italian stallion trend that was permeating Hollywood in the mid-1970s. They wanted to retain female viewers, but avoid a Travolta clone. Beau's first reaction to the term sweathog is, "That sounds gross." He seems to have a way with women, as shown in later episodes. One of his running jokes involved imparting whimsical sayings, such as one about how a real man never steps on a pregnant alligator. Other recurring characters: Vinnie Watson as Verna Jean, Susan Lanier as Bambi, a female addition to the Sweathogs introduced mostly as eye candy. Charles Fleischer as Carverley, introduced as a student foil to the Sweathogs in Season 2. Bob Harcum as Murray, Carverley's loyal, and extremely dim, sidekick. Dennis Boyne as Todd Ludlow, a nerdy academic high achiever. Jeffrey Stump as Carl the Heartbreaker Lucas, Irene Aranga as Mary Johnson, later became Arnold Horshack's wife. Melanie Halle as Angie Grabowski, introduced in Season 3 as the only official female Sweathog but was gone by the end of the season. Show history: Welcome Back, Kotter's first season was controversial. In Boston, the local ABC affiliate initially refused to air the show. The city was going through a tumultuous school busing program that involved widespread protests and riots, and the local affiliate felt Kotter's fictional integrated classroom would only add fuel to the fire. However, the show became an early ratings success and the affiliate relented, picking it up from its fifth episode. Teachers in other cities had concerns about how Kotter would be portrayed, so producers allowed a union representative on the set to ensure the show protected the image of those in the profession. Kaplan opposed the idea, at one point asking a reporter if there was a junkman in the set of Sanford and Son to protect the reputation of junkmen. There were also concerns that the show would glorify juvenile delinquency. These sentiments faded after the Sweathogs' antics proved to be silly rather than criminal. Like Kaplan, Hodges was a fan of the Marx Brothers. Hodges claimed that he suggested that the Sweathogs be modeled after the Marx Brothers in order to reduce tension. Ratings slipped in the third season. Kaplan later attributed the decline to the age of the actors playing the Sweathogs, saying they were no longer believable as high school students. His idea was to have Kotter join the faculty of a community college attended by the Sweathogs. However, this storyline never materialized. In order to increase viewership, the Kotters had twin girls, but this did not prove to be enough to regain the show's earlier momentum. The show introduced a female Sweathog, Angie Grabowski, played by Melanie Halle. Major changes took place in the fourth and final season. Shortly before the season began, the series was moved from its successful Thursday 8 o'clock time slot to Monday 8:00 to make way for the impending hit series Mork and Mindy. Virtually the entire writing staff was fired after Season 3, and replaced with newcomers. Travolta, who had already starred in box office hits such as Grease, Saturday Night Fever, and Carrie, began to focus more time on his film career. He was featured in 8 episodes, earning $2,000 for each one, and he was billed as a special guest star. Mr. Woodman was promoted to principal of the school, and Kotter was promoted to vice principal, and the show's focus moved away from Kotter's class. Behind-the-scenes disputes led to limited appearances by Kaplan. To help fill the voids, Stephen Shortridge joined the cast as smooth-talking Southerner Beau de la Barre, and Kotter's wife, Julie, became a secretary at the school. Popularity: the show enjoyed ratings success during its first 2 seasons, spawning a host of merchandising tie-ins including lunch boxes, dolls, comic books, novels, and even a board game. The Sweathogs even made a crossover appearance with characters from the Happy Days universe on one track of a 1976 TV-promoted oldies compilation album. Theme song: the popular theme song, Welcome Back, written and recorded by former Love and Spoonful frontman John Sebastian, became a #1 hit in the spring of 1976. The show was originally going to be called Kotter, but that was changed because of the theme song lyrics. Sebastian has said he tried to find a more general theme for the song after being unable to find any reasonable rhymes for Kotter. Sebastian performed the song on Saturday Night Live, and memorably flubbed the opening lyrics. Comic books. DC Comics published 10 issues of a Welcome Back, Kotter comic book starting in 1976. Following its cancellation in 1978, a limited collector's edition was issued, incorporating a 4-page on-the-set section and photographs from the show. Action figures. Mattel produced a series of 9-inch Welcome Back, Kotter action figures in 1977. Figures produced included Barbarino, Horshack, Epstein, Washington, and Mr. Kotter. Episodes. DVD releases. Warner Home Video released a 6-episode television favorites collection on February 28, 2006. Due to the success of this release, Warner released the complete first season on DVD in Region 1 on June 12, 2007. On May 7, 2014, it was announced that Shout! Factory had acquired the rights to the series and would be releasing Welcome Back, Kotter, the complete series on DVD in Region 1 on August 26, 2014. Nominations. Kotter failed to receive any major awards, though it was nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Comedy Series in 1976 after its first season. It lost to The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Kotter was also nominated for 3 Technical Emmy Awards, Outstanding Achievement in Videotape Editing for a Series in 1976, Outstanding Art Direction for a Comedy Series in 1978, and Outstanding Individual Achievement a Creative Technical Crafts in 1979. Guest stars. Several noteworthy performers enjoyed guest stints on Kotter either during or prior to their widespread fame. James Woods guest starred in the first episode as Alex Wells, a drama teacher who led the school debate team in a competition against the Sweathogs. Pat Morita appeared in the 1976 episode Career Day as Mr. Takahashi. Comedian George Carlin was featured, as was John Aston. Other guest stars included Scott Brady, Ellen Travolta, Richard Moll, Della Reese, and Dinah Minoff, the last of whom would work with John Travolta again in Grease. Groucho Marx was set to have a brief walk-on role in one episode. He arrived on set, but was deemed to be too sick to appear. Pictures of Marx with the cast were taken, but were never released because of his ill appearance. Spin-offs. At least 3 spin-offs of Kotter were seriously considered, but only one ever became a series. The short-lived Mr. T and Tina starred Pat Morita as Taro Takahashi, a brilliant Japanese inventor whom he portrayed in one episode of Kotter. The show was not received well by critics and lasted just 5 episodes on ABC. There was also talk of developing a spin-off built around the Horshack character and his family, Rich Man, Poor Man. Horshack. But it never went beyond the backdoor pilot stage, shown as an episode of Kotter. In the mid-1990s, Hodges announced on The Jenny Jones Show that plans were in the works to create a spin-off featuring the Sweathogs all grown up. The project, however, never got off the ground, and little information about it was ever made public. ABC broadcast history, Nielsen ratings, international airing. In Germany, 23 episodes of Welcome Back, Kotter were shown dubbed, but under its original name first from September 1979 till May 1980 by the ZDF, then again from April to July 1985 by Sat1. In the United Kingdom, 26 episodes were shown from December 1981 until July 1983 on ITV. In Australia, the show was broadcast on the 7 network from June 1976 and rated very well for the first 2 seasons. In New Zealand, the show was screened on Television New Zealand's TV1. As in Australia, the first 2 seasons rated highly. In Italy, the show was aired by the Italian TV second channel RAI2 in the spring of 1980. Since at the time there were only 2 national TV networks, the rating was high. The show was dubbed, and the title was translated in Italian into I ragazzi del sabato sera, clearly aiming to build on the success of Saturday Night Fever. As a matter of fact, most viewers believed that the show had been shot after the movie. In Greece, the show was screened on ANT1 really late, in the summer of 1992, on a morning slot. It passed unnoticed. After the show, Kaplan welcomed back Hodges and Jacobs on his short-lived 1981 sitcom, Lewis and Clark. Their characters joked that Kaplan seemed familiar and being a smart guy, should become a teacher. The Simpsons referenced the sitcom in the fourth season episode Selma's Choice, first aired on January 21, 1993. Marge is impressed to find one of the Swethogs listed as a donor in the Springfield Sperm Bank unregistered trademark SA A101 Frozen Pops are catalogue. She is disappointed, however, to learn from Selma that Eat unregistered trademark S. Not Horshack. When Travolta hosted Saturday Night Live in 1994, he appeared in a sketch that lampooned his old show. Quentin Tarantino's Welcome Back, Kotter gave viewers a humorous look at how the Pulp Fiction director might have brought a strong dose of violence to the tame show. Travolta reprised his old character, Barbarino, with Mike Myers as Mr. Kotter, Adam Sandler as Epstein, Tim Meadows as Washington and David Spade as Horshack. In 1997, Hodges, Jacobs and Palillo reprised their Swethog roles on an episode of the NBC sitcom Mr. Rhodes. Kaplan did not appear. Instead, John Cassar assumed the role of Mr. Kotter. The episode originally aired on February 3, 1997 and was titled The Welcome Back Show. Kotter had a renewed surge in popularity in the mid-1990s when it aired as part of the Nick at Night lineup on Nickelodeon. Kaplan later said that the show found plenty of new fans during that run, but that they were turned off by the quality of the episodes from the fourth season. A full weekend marathon aired on TV Land during their Fandomonium weekend stunts in 1999. In the 1990s, Hodges, Jacobs, and Palillo reprised their Swethog roles in a MTV Movie Awards parody of Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Palillo played the role of John Travolta, Jacobs played the role of Samuel L. Jackson, and Hodges played the role of Phil LaMarr, who was sitting in the back seat of the car eating a hamburger. While discussing hamburgers, near the end of the skit, Horshack turns to Epstein waving his gun and accidentally discharges his weapon. Instead of blood and brain matter splattering all over the back window and in the car covering the occupants, it was condiment sauce, while pickles and tomatoes were dangling down the hair of the occupants. In the late 1990s, Hodges, Jacobs, and Palillo reprised their Swethog roles for a commercial for Ames department stores. The commercial showed the three waiting for Mr. Kotter to show up, but then hear over the PA system that Mr. Kotter wasn't teaching today because he went to a sale at Ames. An instrumental version of Welcome Back was playing in the background. Cast members opened up about their experiences on the show in 2000's Welcome Back, Kotter, the E! True Hollywood Story. The 2-hour program included interviews with cast members, including Kaplan, Scott, Palillo, Jacobs, Strassman, Iranga and Shortridge. Kaplan spoke of a difficult relationship with executive producer James Comack, whom he saw as not serving the show's best interests. Like many viewers, Kaplan said the quality of the show dropped off in the fourth and final season. Jacobs agreed, saying that the new writers brought in that year were not suited to a show of this nature. Palillo said the impact of an attempted ratings grabber in the final season, Horshack's Wedding, was derailed when President Jimmy Carter gave a televised speech that preempted the heavily advertised episode. Strassman recalled how disappointed she was at her limited time on camera, a situation that changed in the fourth season when her character became a substitute teacher at Buchanan High. In 2003, as part of ABC's 50th anniversary celebration telecast, Kotter was featured in tribute montage and the original cast appeared together on stage. In 2011, all of the living cast members, except Ron Palillo, appeared at the 9th annual TV Land Awards to accept the award for the show's 35th anniversary. The Transformers, Timeline's character of Rodimus is based on Vinnie Barbarino, using variants of his catchphrases. Hey Mr. Kotter by Kink Source parodies the show's main characters. The sign from the opening credits that reads Welcome to Brooklyn, fourth largest city in America, Honorable Sebastian Leone Borough President currently hangs in the lobby of Brooklyn Borough Hall. A Boston University web series, aired on BUTV 10, parodied the show in its title, Welcome Back, Brotter. In 2011, The series won a Telly Award. In 2012, both Ron Palillo and Robert Hodges died. As of 2014, the show airs on MeTV Monday Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Motion Picture Possibilities. A motion picture based on this television series was being planned as of August 2010. Ice Cube has been selected to play the role of Gabi Kotter, a choice applauded by Gabe Kaplan. A film was slated to take place in south-central Los Angeles as opposed to Brooklyn. No release date had been scheduled by the middle of August 2010, and whether this film would be a comedy or an urban drama with some humor injected into either the script or the performances was unknown as of that time. References. External links. Welcome Back, Kotter at the Internet Movie Database. Welcome Back, Kotter at TV.com. Welcome Back, Kotter-related interview videos at the Archive of American Television.